Hi folks, it's Connor, Action Hero here. I'm back with another video. Today, we're going to be looking at the MacFarlane Toys DC Multiverse Batman action figure. And we're not only going to be looking at it, we're going to be fixing it. Because it's not the best. And we'll see why. And here it is. Et voila! Here is the MacFarlane Toys DC Multiverse Batman action figure. Box in the back, figure in the front, that's the main attraction, and the accessories off to the side. First, let's take a look at the box. Whee! Whee! Box. Wrong box, Batgirl. We'll look at her tomorrow, maybe. Let me get Batman. Here's Batman. Boom. Alright. So, just taking a look at the box. I really like this box design. We're not going to take a very long time looking at it because we have lots of stuff to get through, including kit bashing. So you can see the front just says DC Multiverse with that new DC logo. I mean, it's not that new. It's been around for a couple of years now. And DC Multiverse. And then the name of the figure down there, or the name of the character, Batman. You see in the window of this box, I know it's kind of hidden by the bubble that the figure came in. But there's all sorts of comic-y stuff, like pictures of comics, and you can see the Green Lantern back there, etc., etc. And let's take a look at the side. It says Batman and Detective Comics number 1000 and MacFarlane Toys at the bottom there. On the back, big, huge picture of the Batman drawn by Jim Lee holding the Joker. It looks cool. And pictures of the rest of the figures you could purchase if you so chose on the bottom here. And not much over here. All right, we're done with the box. Whee! All right. Let's go ahead and take a look at the figure's accessories. First, we're going to look at the Batarang. Batarang! Alright, this is a very large Batarang, and I'm not such a huge fan of that. It's also really bulky and thick. Look at the thickness. It's really, really thick. And it's hard. So it's not made of like a rubber. It's hard. And so the disadvantage of that is that it really only fits in this guy's hand. This is an okay grapple gun. It's pre-fired, a pre-fired gun. I'm not a huge fan of these pre-fired guns. They're okay. I think they look okay if you're just going to have them sitting up there on the shelf. But I would rather have like a string attached or just have this end bat thingy there be attached to the end of the gun. That would be better. But it's okay. I mean, it's a fine grapple gun. Let's move to the main attraction. Oh wait, we still have one more thing to get through, and that is the boring little stand here. There it is, et voila. I mean, it's a fine stand. It's just really, really small, and it's about the size of the DC Direct ones. You can see it has that new DC symbol right there, which I really like that they've included that. Nice little aspect. I usually don't use it for the MacFarlane Toys folks. I usually give it to figures that I know can't stand in my collection, because the MacFarlane Toys figures actually do stand fairly well. Not that well, but pretty well. So we'll also talk about that. Moving onward, main attraction now. Can you see him? Can you see him? All right. You see his legs. You see his legs. All right. It's not focusing. There, now it's focusing. But now he's not standing. I told you he'd stand, but he's not standing. Why isn't he standing? Maybe we need that stand. 1 second. Now it'll stand. The MacFarlane Toys DC Multiverse Batman action figure. Let's talk about what I think about this figure and why I think he needs fixing. Let's talk about the good parts of this figure though first. So I like the belt. I think the belt's pretty good. There's some sloppiness on that belt in some areas. Some sloppiness where it's just not quite crisp enough for my liking, but most of it's pretty good. I like that they've sculpted on and not just painted this trunk piece. I like that a lot. And you know what? I think the tops of the boots look pretty good. I like that they've sculpted those. There's a lot of sculpted detail on the MacFarlane Toys action figures, particularly this one. I think the gloves look nice, and you know what? They've sculpted on that bat symbol, which I think is really nice. But we'll talk about that bat symbol again, because that also comes into the worst. One other really good thing about this figure is the cape. The cape I do like. I think it looks really, really good. I know there are a lot of people who don't really care for this pre-sculpted cape. I know that, but I don't really mind it. I think it looks good. I think it has all the wrinkles and all the curves and all the little flappy parts it needs to, so that's nice. You can see it's straight up here as it meets his neck. Quite honestly, this figure has more bad than good. Let's first look at perhaps the most glaring problem with this figure, that being his head. This head is a huge, in my opinion, a huge problem. Because look at that nose. The mask does not reach all the way down to the nose, to the bottom of the nose. It looks just silly. And also, look at the size of that head compared with the torso. It's teeny. It's super tiny. The other thing I want to talk about is those eyes. The eyes are really, really big. They don't look right. This head, in my opinion, looks far too cartoonish. It's a no-go for me. Another thing, and I know I raved about the belt a little bit earlier, but like I said, a couple things are off about that belt. Additionally, they've decided to include detail where really there needs not be detail along the leg there. In my opinion, figures should be as comic accurate as possible. Don't add extra lines, extra piping in the suit where there doesn't need to be. You can see it again on that other leg and on the torso there. That is something that just does not need to be there. I know I talked earlier about the fact that this symbol was sculpted, and I appreciated that, but it's not inlaid. I mean, it is, but not enough. I don't know, my camera probably won't be able to pick it up, but this symbol is not pushed into the chest nearly enough. It sticks out from the chest in really weird ways, especially on that right side. I don't know if you can see it, but there's almost like there's a little square where they didn't quite get that. Let me put his arm down so you can see it. A square where they didn't quite get that right. On the one hand, on the one side, it's drawn to a point, or almost a point, a curved point. This side, there's like a little square at the end. What the heck? Maybe it's just my figure, or maybe they're all like that. The other thing is that the torso piece, the chest piece, I guess I should say, it's an articulation point, most certainly. But look at how much it just sticks out from the figure. I think it looks very poor there. So, like I said, more bad than good on this figure. Let's take a look at articulation, and then we'll do some fixing. Articulation! Articulation! So, head, it's a 360 turn. Torso can turn mostly all around, and about. And you'll see the waist is actually turning with the torso, so the question there is, what is the point of this torso turn? The stand fell off, that was that noise. What is the point of this torso turn? Because look at how much this guy can actually turn his torso. Not much. Both the 360 swivel articulation and the up-down articulation that you see right here come from the waist and not from this piece. So I really do not understand why they have to have this piece, which is so ugly, stick out from the figure. If it offered a heck of a lot of articulation, maybe I could understand it better. But it doesn't. So that's unfortunate. Then they have, and this is where the cape gets in the way, but they have butterfly hinges here, which I'm not a huge fan of. It's just another piece between the chest piece and the shoulder. And I personally think that looks ugly. I don't know why they chose to include that. You could just do a regular hinge joint there. You could just do that. All right, so then he has it there. He has a butterfly hinge right there. He can turn, whoops, and the butterfly hinge is turning with him. But he can turn this bicep He can turn at the elbow. You can't see it because my hand's in the way, which is annoying, but he can turn at the elbow, up, down. I guess you'd call it a hinge. And then turn at the wrist. And this is a ball joint, which I'm not a huge fan of the ball joint on the wrist or the ankle, especially not the ankle. It's on the ankle. I would rather just have, like they have on the DCUC figures, just have a swivel for the wrist. And same thing for the right arm. Moving downward, you see, like I pointed out earlier, he has that those molded trunks. He can turn his leg outward like that. He can turn at the knee. He has a ball joint, so he can turn up, down, all around. At the ankle, provides a lot of movement. He can turn, nope, he can't turn at the top of the boot. Oh, and one other form of articulation that I'm not such a huge fan of is this toe turn. Why? Why do they have to have that? It's just an added piece in the foot that just makes a mess of things. I want a nice, even foot. I really don't understand why they have to include that. There we go. So there's the figure. You saw his flaws. Maybe you don't agree with me about his flaws. Maybe you think this is a good head sculpt. But I don't. Regardless of what you think, let's see what he looks like with a different head and different cape. Time for the fixing. Time for the Kitbash. Here is the newly improved MacFarlane Toys DC Multiverse Batman action figure. I did two things to quote-unquote fix this figure. First, I swapped his head. Next, I swapped his cape. Well, actually, in reverse order. Anyway, I think this figure looks one heck of a lot better. You'll see he has the same accessories, same torso, same rest of the body. Only things I did were switch the cape and switch the head. That's all I did. And I think it greatly improves the figure. Now, you're probably wondering about the recipe here. So, what I did was I took the head and the cape from an extra one of these new... Man, oh man. What I did was I took the head and the cape from a New 52 DC Collectibles Batman action figure. Looks like a Jim Lee drawing. And I put it on this guy. And I had an extra one of these. I'm really grateful that I had an extra one of these. You can also kind of get a height comparison here. I think that this MacFarlane Toys figure looks really, really good with this head. Do I think he looks fantastic? No. Is he my favorite Batman in my collection? Not by a long shot. But I think he's pretty good. I think he looks one heck of a lot better. And I will point out that this head is actually only a tiny bit bigger than the one we got with it. But you can see right away that the eyes are a lot smaller. And that's how I fix this figure. A very simple fix, but a fix nonetheless. Now, one other thing I will show you, in case you're wondering how to make a figure like this of your very own. Be right back. So here is the leftover body from the New 52 DC Collectibles Batman action figure. He's looking a little rough. But you'll see what I had to do to remove that cape is use an X-Acto knife and just slice off the cape. The places where the cape attached to the body. And you'll see two places on the sides of the neck and one right in front of the neck. I did have a slight misstep, and that is... I can show you real quick. That is, I don't know if you can see it, but there's a tear right along the cape. So you want to be really careful with that X-Acto knife. The other thing I did was my head, this head, was in very bad shape when I put it on the figure. A lot of the original black paint had worn away, but I fixed it with a simple Sharpie marker. Sometimes the Sharpie marker is not the best, but here it actually worked out, and I think it gave this the sheen it needed. Now, I didn't cover the whole thing with Sharpie. I just went over the parts where the paint had worn away. But I think it worked really, really well. If you ever have a shiny black figure or shiny black paint on a figure, you can pretty easily fix any paint that may have worn away with a Sharpie. There is the MacFarlane Toys DC Multiverse Batman action figure. You gotta look at the one that came in the box, on card, and now you get a look at my custom. I want to give a final rating for the figure, not this figure, but the original one with the original cape and cowl. For the original MacFarlane Toys DC Multiverse figure that came in the box, I have to give that one only a 2 out of 5 stars. Because of all the things that I mentioned, because of this head that's way too small, because of the mask that doesn't even cover all of the nose, because of the huge chest piece that sticks out from the rest of the torso. Those are my thoughts. You may have different ones, and please share those in the comments below if you do. I welcome your thoughts. Additionally, please subscribe, leave a like if you like this video, and let me know what you'd like to see more of. Bye now.